All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. Check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin County from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're open Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Get the brisket chili. Oh, my God, it's all good. Potato salad's amazing. The ribs, the chicken, the brisket's amazing. The brisket chili is absolutely special. Try it. You'll love it. You'll be a fan for life. All right, let's talk Niners. Interesting story once again. This is like the story that won't go away. Maybe a little different wrinkle this time. Mike Florio of NBC Sports Pro Football Talk went on the Rich Eisen show on Thursday, June the 22nd, with this bold declaration, even using the words, mark it down. Florio sees the Niners and Kyle Shanahan making a run at Kirk Cousins of the Vikings in free agency next offseason. And he adds that the Rams may go after him as well. And he basically was quoted as saying, I think you're going to see, unless the Vikings re-sign him by then, that they can use the franchise tag on him the way that they can't use the franchise tag on him the way his contract is structured. You're going to see a potential tug of war between Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, the Niners and the Rams, for Kirk Cousins next March. And this is what Florio told Eisen. He said, mark that down. like it's absolutely official. And the Vikings, the Vikings are moving some guys around. They're in a transition. Dalvin Cook was released June 9th in a salary cap move. And, Cook's name has surfaced as maybe a guy going to Robert Saleh and the Jets. And then the Pro Bowl defensive end, Danielle Hunter, is another guy who's heard a lot of chatter about him being moved via trade, possibly between now and training camp, maybe even to the 49ers. But Kirk Cousins has his own murky situation with Minnesota. His current deal expires after the upcoming season. He's going to be free to walk via free agency in 2024. And he's set to make $10 million in base salary in 2023. He obviously has a connection with Shanahan because Shanahan, was born in Minneapolis, I guess, but was also the Commanders' offensive coordinator when they were the Redskins in 2012 and 2013. And Cousins was in his first 2 seasons in the league out of Michigan State. And Mike and Kyle brought him to the NFL. And Cousins during that time combined for 8 touchdown passes, 10 picks. He went 1-3 as a starter. But there's been a lot of talk through the years that Shanahan's had interest. Maybe that's why the Niners didn't scout Mahomes and Deshaun Watson into the 2017 draft, because they were thinking, okay, next year we'll take a run at Kirk Cousins. And then here came Jimmy Garoppolo. Then they had the run with Garoppolo, and it just, it's like 2 ships that pass in the night. Shanahan like Cousins like Shanahan, but the 2 of them have yet to actually hook up here in San Francisco. Albert Breer detailed Shanahan's interest in the past in Cousins in a February 18th column in Sports Illustrated. There's been all kinds of different reports from different media sources citing that the Niners have interest in Cousins and Cousins has interest in the Niners. And it all makes perfect sense, except, Cousins has not been available and the Niners haven't gone in that direction. He's gotten more expensive. They've gone to other options. Now they have Purdy and Darnold and Lance battling it out for their quarterback spot. So the Niners signed Sam Darnold to a $4.5 million deal. He was the 3rd pick overall in 2018. He's only on a 1-year deal though. And but obviously the 49ers like Sam Darnold, and Florio went on the Eisen show and basically explained as much. He says, I think they really like Sam Darnold. When they started putting out the word, it was Matt Mayoko of NBC Sports Bay Area who said that Sam Darnold may be the most talented of the thrower of the football the 49ers organization has ever seen. And people lost their minds. And why did people lose their minds? Because he likely didn't make that up. Mayoko didn't make that up. He probably repeated it from somebody who told it to him on the inside. And so a lot of people are like, what? Why do they love Sam Darnold that much? Well, Florio believes that Darnold, not Brock Purdy, but Sam Darnold, will be the eventual starter this year as Purdy continues to heal from the elbow surgery on his throwing elbow. And it's like, where's Trey Lance in this mix? There's almost never any mention of Trey Lance. But let's talk about this for a second. Once again, Kirk Cousins this year, not he's going to stay in Minnesota, I think, and the Niners are going to go forward with Purdy and Darnold and Lance and Brandon Allen. Last year, what did Kirk Cousins do? He threw for 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns, 14 picks. He's 34. So he's right there towards the middle end of his prime. Maybe NFL quarterback prime goes to 37. So maybe he's got a couple more years of prime years left. Career-wise, he's a 66.8% completion percentage guy, 252 touchdowns, 105 interceptions. And he hasn't won a lot of big games in the playoffs, though he does have an 80% completion percentage in the playoffs and a quarterback rating of 112.9, which is a very good quarterback rating. This was what he did last year in the playoffs. He had 2 touchdowns, no picks, but the Vikings, key moment, he went short when they needed to go long and they didn't convert. And a lot of people blame Kirk Cousins and say that he can't win the big one and he can't win big games. All right, here's the long and the short of it. Do you believe Florio? Is Cousins coming to the Niners? I would say there's no chance Cousins is coming to the Niners this year. 0 chance. The Niners are going to go forward with Brock Purdy. There's only one real scenario in which the 49ers will have interest in Kirk Cousins, in my opinion. And that is if Brock Purdy shows this year that he's not a starter, that he's at best a backup. If last year was a hot start and he somehow regresses and becomes just a very good backup quarterback in the NFL. If the Niners at the end of this year are convinced that Brock is a real good backup but not a real good starter, then that takes him out of the mix. If Trey Lance, who has a lot of potential, but if he doesn't fulfill that potential at all, and he winds up not improving or not improving as quickly as the 49ers would like, he's getting more expensive, and maybe he's not the answer. I personally think that Brock Purdy's a franchise quarterback, and I think Trey Lance has potential to be a franchise quarterback. Then there's Darnold, and it's beauty in the eye of the beholder. How do you feel about Sam Darnold? Personally, I'm skeptical. I thought he turned it over too much at USC. I think he's turned it over too much with the Jets. He was only slightly better last year with the Panthers, and I'm just not a real believer in Sam Darnold. But from watching Sam Darnold this summer, I will say, or this spring, that he does throw a very good ball. And the Niners are going to surround him with a better line, better play caller, much better weapons. And who knows? Maybe he'll flourish. But there's only one scenario that Kirk Cousins is coming to the Niners. I think Kirk Cousins is not coming to the Niners, but if all 3 of those quarterbacks fall on their face and show this year that none of them are the future starter, the Niners are built around a cheap quarterback room. And if Brock Purdy shows that he's the franchise guy, they're not going to spend big money on Kirk Cousins and then get rid of all these quality football players to do so, because you're going to pay Kirk Cousins $20 million plus, maybe even a lot more than that. So if they can go with the cheap quarterback, they're going to. And all 3 of their guys right now are cheaper than Kirk Cousins is today and will be next year. So the only way Kirk Cousins is going to be a Niner is if Brock Purdy proves that he's an NFL backup, that Trey Lance proves that despite his upside and impressive traits, that he's not an NFL starting quarterback, and that if Sam Darnold shows that the turnovers that he had at USC and the Jets and the Panthers is just basically him, and it really doesn't matter if he's surrounded by Shanahan and better weapons and a better defense and a better line, that he turns it over too much and he's not a winning quarterback. If Darnold proves he's not a winner, if Lance proves that his upside traits really amount to not a lot of production on the field, and if Brock Purdy regresses from his rookie year and shows that he, for whatever reason, that he's more of a glorified backup, then and only then I think you will see Kirk Cousins. So how do I feel about it? I would say the odds of Kirk Cousins being a Niner at any point are probably about 5%, because I would say it's about a 5% chance that all 3 of those Niner quarterbacks fall on their face. Darnold, I think, finds himself and plays better ball. I won't even throw Brandon Allen out there, but Brandon Allen could be in the mix as well. Don't discount him, but I don't really factor him in as a starter. But let's say Sam Darnold finds himself. Kirk Cousins won't be here. Let's say Trey Lance shows, that he can turn some of the traits that people like into consistent on-field production. Kirk Cousins will not be here. And if Brock Purdy demonstrates that he's a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL and the 49ers feel like, maybe they didn't win this year, but it wasn't because of Brock, then Kirk Cousins isn't going to be here. But if all those things turn out wrong for the 49ers and Brock's not the guy and Lance is not the guy and Darnold's not the guy, I don't see the 49ers going into the draft looking for a young quarterback next year. I don't. I think at that point, Kirk Cousins will be like, break glass if necessary. He'll be that like emergency last resort quarterback that Kyle knows, that he knows Kyle knows him. Kyle will go to Kirk Cousins if these three guys fall on their face or prove that they're not the guy. But if any of the three prove that they are the guy, they won't go to Kirk Cousins. So mark it down, Mike Florio, mark it down. Kirk Cousins, there'll be a huge tug of war between McVay and Shanahan for Kirk Cousins. On the Rams side, Stafford, I don't know what he's got left. But I mean, is Sean McVay sprinting away from Matthew Stafford to go to Kirk Cousins? I don't see that either. So there may be a financial component in his contract. That's a little bit more above my pay grade. I haven't studied the inner workings of the Rams quarterback picture and where they're at. I can tell you what they have. They've got Bryce Perkins and Stetson Bennett and Wofford behind Stafford. So if Stafford retired or Stafford fell on his face or got hurt or his career ended, I could see the Rams going after Kirk Cousins. But I can't see the Niners going after Kirk Cousins unless all three, and maybe really all four of their quarterbacks that they're going with this year, all prove that they ain't the guy. If they all prove they ain't the guy, you might see Kirk Cousins and the Niners pursue Kirk Cousins. Otherwise, it's going to be otherwise, I really think it's very, very doubtful that Kirk Cousins ever puts on a 49er uniform. All right, hope you enjoyed our 49er video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being a proud sponsor of The Krug Show. And thanks to all of you for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.